Hi, I'm Mark Stowe, and in this week's Sit Down, we're going to be getting it real with Brent Anderson. Brent, you know, in these interviews, it's kind of just going to share a little bit about you, yourself, and with that audience out there. And, you know, I kind of want to get in this mind of yours of what makes you tick. You know, when you look at, you know, bass fishing and how you got into it, tell me a little bit of how you got into bass fishing.
How I got into bass fishing? Well, I was introduced to fishing when I was 2 years old. My mom took me, and then my family was a fishing family, but we never bass fished. We just fished for whatever, waded streams, farm ponds, that kind of thing. When I was about 20, it was about 1999, my uncle had started fishing some of the little rivers I grew up on for brim and catfish that I fished for. He was fishing for bass in the wintertime with a little small jig. And he took me one time and I caught a 3-pounder, and the rest is history.
So that was your connection, and what kind of hooked you on fishing?
Yep, bass fishing. I was always fascinated by fishing as a kid. I remember watching Bill dance when I was 4 years old, and that was my favorite show. But my dad didn't, he thought Bill dance was rigged. He thought he had divers putting the fish on his rods, and so he never bought into it, you know. But he's bought into it now that I've gotten, you know, put all the work in learning how to catch them. He likes to come with me. So.
Hey, we've seen you on TV catching fish as
Yes,
well,
sir.
so that,
Yes,
and there
sir.
ain't no fraud in what I do, I promise, because there's some days that it doesn't go the way we want it to. You know, so, you know, just looking at your career and your, you know, path and journey through the, you know, what I'm gonna say, the fishing world, tell me kind of where you started and how you've progressed to where you are now.
All right. So not long after my uncle taught me about bass fishing a little bit, some guys at his work started a bass club. There was like 7 or 8 boats. They fished Old Hickory and Percy Priest in Nashville. Well, me and my buddies we've mastered fishing creeks and ponds, and I find out there's competitive fishing. And I told one of my buddies, I said, we got to do this. We got to take these guys' money, because we were pretty good in the creeks. But he got a little bass tracker, my buddy did, and we jumped in my uncle's club, and I think 6 tournaments that first year. He caught 2 keepers in one tournament. I never caught a keeper. So I was pretty distraught and was about to just hang it up, and I was just determined to learn how to do it. And that winter I bought a boat and an old Stratus, an old like 87 Stratus, and just started fishing every chance I could. And I think I caught 2 or 3 keepers that next season. And then 2003, I think it was, things kind of started clicking, and I won a couple tournaments, and I just kind of, once I got some confidence and knew I could do it, I started winning pretty often. I was fishing smaller level events, and you know, after a year winning at the club level, I bumped up to a little higher team trail, and that was 2004. Me and my buddy Stevie Mills, we won the fish off that year, $7,500. And I said, man, you can make money bass fishing. But man, boy, was I wrong. You can make some money, but you spend a lot of money too. But you know, I mean, honestly, I was just obsessed with it. I fished I fished as many days then as I do now, and it's my job now. I mean, I'd get off work at 4 o'clock. If I could be on the water for 30 minutes, I was there. If it was frozen in the wintertime, I was in the basement pitching and flipping at targets, eating up with it. And then eventually, you know, around 2009, I had a pretty big year tournament fishing, and allowed me to venture out and chase the dream. And I've survived 11 years out here, so.
And at this stage in the game, you are fishing, you know, I guess the way to say this is you've came through the club levels, you fished, some regional type tournaments, and now you're.
I'm pretty content at the BFL and the Toyota Series level. Toyota's considered professional, like AAA baseball. It's not the national tour level, but I would like to do it one day. I qualified this year. You had to be top 5 in the points in the Toyota division you fished, and I actually ended up 6th, but a couple guys double qualified, so I got the invite, but couldn't come up with the sponsor money to do it. And to do it, I almost have to leave what I've got going. I'm trying to build this deal in Florida, and I need to be there for that. And it's just not worth gambling away what I've built just to say, hey, I'm fishing at a little higher level. Because I get to fish against a lot of those guys in the AAA level, and so you still get the competition. But.
And then, you haven't stepped into this yet, but you truly fish for a living. I mean,
I do.
You are not only competing at the tournament level, but you're actually a guide, and you have a guide business that is taking you from Kentucky Lake to Pickwick and Vero, Florida, and I'm gonna let you kind of expand on what you're doing there on your guide business.
Yeah, that's guiding kind of came by an accident. When I quit my job, I really didn't know what I was going to do, honestly. I was going to try to fish tournaments, but with the tournament success, people started wanting to see what's this guy doing. So it kind of, guide business kind of just popped out. People started calling and saying, hey, I'll pay you to take me. And it's been good because, you have bad tournament years, and I don't have any. I've got one paying sponsor, so you got to have something to fall back on. But I did Kentucky Lake for 7, 8 years. And then, the fishing, I was getting tired there, and the fishing went down with the Asian carp invasion. And just about that time, a friend of mine I went to high school with called me and said, hey, my boss owns orange groves in Florida, and they have a couple 100-acre lakes on them. Would you want to try to do a guiding venture down there in the wintertime? And I'd been looking for a way to get to Florida in the winter to begin with. I just didn't want to show up with a bucket of shiners, at the marina and beg people to go. And he sent me down, I brought my parents with me, December of 2017. We caught a 10-4 and a 9-4. My mom caught a 9-4 the first day we were there. And I said, I think there's some fish in there, boys. And they sent a biologist in to check everything, and I mean, this is our 3rd year, so it's still really new, but we put a lodge in and a lot of lake management, taking small fish out, putting bait fish in, and that thing, trying to grow trophies, and it's 100% private, so it's very exclusive. If you're with us, you're the only boat on the water that day, so it gives people a different, an opportunity to do something different in Florida. And we do not use live bait. No live bait needed on our ponds.
I love that hashtag that you use. And so listening to you talk about, the tournament career and then on over into guiding, I mean, for you, this has been a lot. I mean, you can correct me if I say this wrong, but this is really a lifetime dream for you, and you're living something you've really worked hard to get to being able to do.
Yeah, that's, I think there's different ways to get to where I'm at, or to make a living in the industry. Yours is TV.
And a landscaper on top of it.
Right.
So,
but you're in the you get to be in the industry. Some guys, it's being a national, winning angler of the year in the Bass Elites and that kind of thing. And, this was the route I took. And I'm not a naturally born gifted fisherman. So, I mean, it took me a long time. There was a long learning curve to learn how to catch them good enough to get, it blows my mind that 20 years ago, I could not catch a keeper in a tournament, and now I pay my bills catching fish. So it's pretty wild.
Well, and that's always, neat to see somebody that is successfully gotten to where they wanted to be. And, you know, some of those journeys and roads come with some pretty good twists and turns.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, you shared with me a while back, I guess a couple years ago, you know, your journey through fishing wasn't as simple as watch. I started the tournament world, it went smooth, and I'm a full-time guide. And on the personal side, you probably had some, you know, interesting, I don't like using the words struggles, but we all, you know, go through those hills and swags to get there. And I guess where I go with all of that stuff is, you know, some of these roads of success, they look great. You know, you end up in the guide business and you're at the top of a tournament game.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing well and all that. But those roads come with a lot of obstacles. So me
Right.
personally, I had, you know, I've got multiple businesses trying to get all of it. Staying in the outdoor world was a little bit of a challenge to get into TV and to do something that I've always wanted to do. And, you know, that comes with some, you know, parts that people don't see. And, you know, you shared some neat stories with me about some, you know, struggles in life that you had with alcohol and different things. And how did that affect your career, and how did you overcome that? And what role does fishing, and how did fishing play in that?
Well, I mean, actually, the fishing is what I turned to. I did when I was drinking and partying. That's all I did. And then I ended up realizing I had some issues with drinking, and when I quit, I didn't have anything. Like, that's all I had known since I was 14, which is crazy because my parents aren't that way. I wasn't raised that way, so I've been keeping it from them. And when I gave it up, I was like, you know, what am I going to do with myself? And that's what I always say. If you teach these young people to love the sport when they're young, it will come back someday. They may not be 4 years old and aspiring to be a tournament fisherman, but one day they're going to have a kid they want to take fishing, or in my case, it saved my life. It saved my life because I had nothing.
And that brings that personal side of fishing. I mean, it really
Yes.
does mean something to you.
Yes.
And be where you're at now is really.
To be alive is a pretty big deal. But like I say, had I not been taught to love this outdoors when I was small, I'm not sure where I would be. I mean, I still think I knew it was time to get help with my problem, but I think it made it a lot easier having something else to put 110% of my time and effort into.
Well, after overcoming an obstacle like that, and now you enjoy the success of a guide business, doing something you love, and when somebody gets on the water with you, they're going to see a guy that loves fishing. I mean, you're out there, you're getting after it. I mean, you're not out there playing, even though we're filming and showing the fun of it. I mean, you bring the fishing to it.
Yes, sir. I mean, to me, it is a job. I've always treated it like a job, but to me, the job is to find the fish and catch them. And you know, I get a lot of people that, you know, they want to call and ask how the bite is, and I'm like, fish bite every day. I fished over 500 tournaments in my life, and somebody's won every one of them. So when I go to a tournament and 200 guys zero, I will say the fish aren't biting. But until then, if we're not catching them, it's on me, because I don't have us around them, or I don't know how to make them bite. So, I mean, I take it serious. I'm a goofball. I'm a clown. You know that.
I'll join you.
But mentally, when I'm on the water, there's a lot of stuff going on in my head about we're going to catch them every day.
So bringing that up, then, you know, what's probably the most memorable moment of your fishing career that you know, if you picked one moment in all of it, what stands out?
The number one greatest memory I have. So the club that I started in and did so terribly in 2004, they had I'd had some bigger tournaments, you know, so I had to miss the first couple. But in April they had an Old Hickory tournament, and one of my goals when I failed so miserably in that club was to one day have the biggest stringer ever weighed in. And I'm sure it's been broken. That club it still exists and it's grown tremendously. But in 2004, I took my mom to Old Hickory Lake, and we weighed in 19 pounds and 7 ounces. The biggest stringer that had ever been weighed in club history. She caught 3 of those 5 fish, and second place was 7 pounds.
And you got to do this with your mom.
Got to do that with my mom, and I've won as much as $75,000 in one tournament before, and I think we won about $150 that day. But that, if I could relive any of them, that's the one.
And so of all the lakes in the country and places you have the opportunity to fish, which one would
Mille Lacs in Minnesota for smallmouth. Again, that one's, for those that don't know, my parents are my best friends, man, and another reason why I'm still here and made it through the hard times. And I take them up north for smallmouth somewhere every summer, and that by far is that's the only trip I've ever been on where after a week I wasn't ready to leave, because I've been blessed to get to see a lot of cool things. Lake Falcon in its heyday, and you know, spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time down there, and you know, after a couple of weeks, I'm like, man, I've seen enough, and I can't get tired of Mille Lacs and those big northern smallmouth.
So that leads to a good one, and I already know this answer, but I'm going to ask you what was the biggest 5 fish you've ever just caught in your life, just just in any day that you kind of
just even playing. The biggest fish, I was with a buddy of mine at Lake Falcon, I think in 2011. And on a boater grip scale, we had 5 that weighed 42.8.
That is monstrous. And then I'm going to say, and I'm going to throw this in, who was the guy with you caught the second biggest stringer ever with you?
Oh, man, I can't remember that guy.
Oh, I just got dumped right
That
here.
would have been Mark Stowe. That would have been in January of 2021, off the map.
That's right,
in
off
South
the map.
Florida.
But, actually we're filming that right here, right now, and that's part of this sit down. You know, I enjoy taking a minute and getting to know everybody and sharing who they are, how they've got where they've gotten, and you know, because that's the direction. You know, when you look at the outdoor show and the show we have the direction, that's what, you know, that was my direction. I didn't know where fishing would take me,
right.
And this is where it's led me. Just like your journey through fishing, you know, fishing has a lot bigger meaning to you than just a scale or whatever. You know,
right.
you bring up your parents, you bring up spending time with your mom and dad, taking them on those trips. Those are those memory moments, and you know, that's the getting real. That is getting real, because for a lot of us, it's not just the outdoors and it's not just fishing. It's really a way of life or part of our life, or
right.
it's really, you know, takes us somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, I see that in you, and I always enjoy every year getting the opportunity to come and fish with you. And, you know, for folks out there, you know, you're getting to know Brent Anderson a little bit more. And if I was to say, summarize this thing up and close it up by saying, you know, who is Brent Anderson in your view, and how do you want to be remembered? Just look to those folks, and it's yours to close.
I just like making people smile, man. And if I've gotta be the butt of the joke to make somebody laugh, that's where I want to be. And one thing, I mean, honestly, man, that my drive is to understand the fish. I've caught more fish than I ever care to catch, and I mean, I'm lucky to be able to say that. But I don't get, and you know this, I don't get real excited over catching a fish. I'm more worried about why he was there and why I was able to catch him, so I can go catch his grandmother. But when I can take people out and see them get excited over catching, you know, sometimes it's a fish, sometimes it's their biggest fish, but then I kind of That gets me excited. The same way I was when I first started catching fish, if that makes any sense. So I just want to make you laugh, folks. Make you smile. And if that means putting you on your personal best or letting you catch your first fish on a topwater, or I ask every customer, what is something you've never done on the water? And hopefully it's not fall in or something. And I try to make that happen that day. I had a guy on Kentucky Lake one time, and we caught a pretty monster bag of fish that day on an Alabama rig. And his biggest memory, he still talks about to this day, is he caught his first fish on a jerkbait. It was a 15-inch keeper. But I made a special run to a school of fish just because I knew they'd bite a jerkbait. And he never talks about the 7-pounder he caught that day, or the 2 6s and the 3 5s. He talks about the one he caught on a jerkbait, his first jerkbait fish. So that's what I try to do, man. Try to make the trip memorable, you know, like my fishing memories are pretty special. So if I can give that to somebody else, then I'm happy.
Well, folks, this is Getting It Real with Brent Anderson, and my friend, I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy.